So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Aston fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast team sheet tantrum for the Palace game. And a game I'm really looking forward to. As some of you can see here, there's bits and pieces missing from behind me here on the wall. My new podcasting boudoir is more or less done, and the reason we're late again tonight, I'm going to blame that again because it is that fault. I literally had all my desk and everything out there just about to get set up, and then couldn't get it set up in time, so I had to lug everything all the way back in up 2 flights of stairs once more to get back in here to podcast. The things I do for team sheet tantrums, like the things I do. Only joking. Paddy, how are you keeping?
Not too bad. Long busy week. So all time looking forward to this game. I'm a little bit apprehensive about it, but I'm looking forward to closing the door for an hour and a half and blocking the world out because I just seem to be up the walls all week. So yeah. Looking forward to the break. Hopefully Villa will put in a performance because I could do a cheering up at this stage.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But and we'll get on to it afterwards because I know that we're a bit late and there's only 3 minutes to go before the team is announced. But remind me before we go to talk about Christian Purslow and the interview he did this morning, because if that doesn't put you in a good mood, I think very few things would if you are an Aston Villa fan. Paddy, do you think there's going to be anything massive in today's team sheet tantrum?
I don't envisage it. I think I said in the preview that I didn't envisage any changes from the starting 11. The only one I think might be is where do they shoehorn Leon Bailey in there from the start, and other than that, I think we'd be looking at the same 10 anyway.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I still think we could see Douglas Luiz in there today. I think we could.
Possibly.
I think it's a possibility. I like it wouldn't blow my mind if he was started today, put it that way. And likewise, it wouldn't blow my mind if Leon Bailey was started today. And likewise, it wouldn't blow my mind if Danny Ings wasn't started today. And it wouldn't blow my mind if Buendia wasn't started today. You know, so we're in an interesting position that if the same 11 go out, I'd be happy enough. If there was 2 or 3 changes made to the team, depending on where they were made, I'd be happy enough as well. You know, that goes to having a fit squad and squad depth. It really does. It goes to having a fit squad and squad depth, something that we lamented for the majority of last season. And we're beginning, and Dean Smith didn't have it for an awful lot of this season, but we're beginning to see it as the squad gets more and more acclimated to, I suppose, to the rigors of the Premier League. Some of the guys who are just coming in, and you know, we'll see more and more options. From the bench as well.
I'd like to see Bailey unleashed on Joel Ward, and I think that's the foremost in my mind today. I think he's the weak link. I think he can be got at. So that would be my choice to start off with Bailey on the left. But you know, we'll see.
We'll see. Let's have a look at some of the comments there before teams announced in about 30 seconds time. Bog says, hello, Neil and Pat. Always look forward to team sheet tantrums. My crazy wild prediction is Bailey in for Buendia, and we'll see Sanson second half. Sanson, I think, is maybe somebody we could see. He was mentioned. He was name checked as well. I think in Gerrards' presser this week as well, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. No, it wasn't baby crying. It was trying to get you into a brand new office, brand new soundproofed room and everything that I've made for podcasting. But unfortunately, Phil Horton says it's been snowing in Birmingham. It's bloody cold here where we are as well, because I couldn't take off my hat because I would have had hat hair and it would have been a disgrace. That's why the lighting is low as well in my room at the moment. Just for purely aesthetic reasons. Team sheet probably is in at this stage. We do have a lineup. Let me just share it up on the screen. Share, I said. Screen 2. Let's share the screen. So we have Martinez, Cash, Konza, Mings, and Target. McGinn, Nakamba, Jacob Ramsey. Oh, Bailey, Watkins, and Ashley Young. Ashley Young, someone who we should have known was in with a
Was in
chance
the
of
plan.
starting
Yeah.
because they didn't make any secret of it. And Greg Evans has been going on about it for the last 2 weeks since Gerrard came in, that Ashley Young was going to have a more forward role within this team. And that's an interesting one. Let's just look at the subs, Paddy, first before we start to talk. But that's a strong subs bench. Steer, House, Tuanzebe, Douglas Luiz, Sanson, Buendia, Chuck Moeka, El Ghazi, and Ings. That's as strong a subs bench as you're probably likely to find outside the top 6 in the Premier League today.
I think we can safely say that's the strongest subs bench we've ever had.
As a football club, I would say that's the strongest subs bench we've ever had. Exactly. Yeah. But talk to me about starting lineup. You called Bailey, but none of us called Ashley Young.
No, and I'm wondering is the I know we're seeing them in whatever order. I wonder, will we see Jacob Ramsey further on with Ashley Young in behind, or does he fancy him in that inside right role or inside left role, whatever he decides to do? Yeah, can't complain with it. Ashley Young came on and did very well the last day, so yeah, I guess he deserves a chance. He's probably putting himself about in training as well, so putting his hand up to be counted. It's going to be a difficult game, so why not try something different and try and bamboozle them from the start?
Yeah, as Broken 1394, thanks so much, Broken. Says big win today, please. And it'll be a difficult ask to have a big win, but I think we're all hoping for that as well. But here's my take on why Ashley.
I think 1-0 would be a big win today.
Yeah. And I think that's what he meant. I don't think he meant 12-0 or anything like that. But I think a win is a win, and it will be a big win today. But my take on Ashley Young, and literally, 90 seconds old, knowing that Ashley Young is in the team. We spoke a couple of times, Paddy, about leadership within the team. And there was times where I actually lamented and I said, there doesn't seem to be any leadership up the field in this team, certainly not in midfield and so on. And maybe bringing in somebody like an Ashley Young who has an older head. And I know that Dean Smith got panned for it, bringing in a bit of experience to put their foot in the ball and try and get things going. But from the outset and from the start of a game, having Mings obviously as your captain of the defense and of Nakamba, let's say, and then maybe up forward someone else calling the shots, because the captain position is what it is, but I suppose almost having departmental captains, if that makes sense, in and around the team. Because let's just say you've been working on a training ground move, or you've been working on positioning for strikers or for number 10s or whatever. Will Mings fully understand that? And Mings is a million miles away to be running up to people to remind them of what to do. So obviously there is departmental kind of leaders within a team. And maybe Ashley Young is the best person to be able to do that, while being able to offer something in the trickery department as he goes forward, albeit at the age of 37. Am I being too kind of romantic about that? Is that kind of very kind of rider over shite, or what you think?
Well, if you were talking about a GAA match, I totally agree with you. But we've seen what Tyrone Mings can do when it was in an empty stadium. There was a game recently, I think it was Southampton. You could hear him above, albeit a pretty poor stadium. When I was in Spurs, I could hear him barking orders right around the pitch, even when we were defending the opposite goal and I was behind the other goal. So I've no problem with Tyrone Mings being a leader right across the pitch. But just to get little nuggets of information, yes, to a certain extent, it's good to have a leader in the front line, just to stamp a bit of authority up there and move people around his knees. But I got a couple of messages there while you were talking. Some people are saying this could be a 4-4-1-1. It could be a 4-2-3-1. There's lots of people thinking about different stuff here, and I don't think we're actually going to know until this kicks off. He's going to be, but a 4-2-3-1 might not be completely bonkers altogether.
I'm expecting this to be a 4-2-3-1. I'm expecting.
Really?
I'm 100%
Yeah.
expecting this to be 4-2-3-1. Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Bailey on the left,
Or is it?
Ashley Young on the right. That's
I
the
think
only.
Bailey. I think Bailey on the Bailey played on the right very
When he
much
came
so
on.
for
Yeah.
Leverkusen.
And he
So
played on the
I
right
think
when he came on
maybe
last
Bailey
week.
from the right, Ramsey from the left. Ramsey played very far forward the last day. Ramsey almost played out as a wide midfielder. So I think Ramsey's going to be further forward, maybe with Ashley Young through the middle.
Possibly, yeah.
Jesus, I like that. I like Ramsey. I like the way Ramsey carries the ball, and I like the way that he tracks back. And like having Jacob Ramsey on the left hand side. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but having him on the left hand side to track back and help target. Just the more you kind of saying it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether it happens or not, now who knows? We won't know.
Yeah, we could speculate an awful lot here because there's so many different combinations you could pick from what he put out there. I think the only thing guaranteed here is the back four stays the same, and the Nakamba will be the deep line midfielder. Anything else after that is not a given.
Exactly. Let's have a look and see what Crystal Palace team is. If Crystal Palace have a team up. Let's see who they've gone with. They've gone with Guetta in goals, Joel Ward, Gay, Tompkins is in there. No. Wow. No. What you call him? Scandinavian guy who played with Fulham last year. Joachim Anderson. Tompkins and Mitchell. That's interesting. So James Tompkins in there, obviously wily old fox. He's been down a lot of roads in the Premier League as well. You've got Koyate, Milijevic, Gallagher, Olise, Benteke, and Zaha. I suppose really the biggest surprise there is Tompkins and Ayew not started and they start Olise instead of him, which to me looks like maybe they're going for 4-3-3, but is it more like a 4-3-1-2? Like Olise in behind Benteke and Zaha? Unlikely, but it's an interesting lineup, and there is talent in that lineup for sure. And I just hope that we've got Ollie Watkins up front. Ollie Watkins is going to need to press the living daylights out of Tompkins, and as you say, Bailey or whoever just going to run down the throat of Joel Ward all day long. And like Tariq Mitchell as well on the right and on the other side, he's not exactly he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, he's a very good player. But we have players who can get at him as well. So get at them down the wings. And this might be one of the games that I'm going to break my "please can we not cross the ball anymore" mantra, and maybe see if we can get to the byline and some low crosses or cutting the ball back here because there could be opportunities there, specifically with the fact that they're going to have three hulks in the middle in Koate, Milijevic, and Gallagher. Trying to get around those and get down the sides, I suppose, is probably going to be our best option. And also thinking back to our own lineup, Ashley Young could be in there just literally to drag one of those, either Koate or Milijevic, whatever his name is, the captain's name, out of position there as well. No, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's a nice matchup here.
At first glance, I thought Tompkins is in there because he's taller, but I just had a look there. He's not. He's only a couple of centimeters taller, so there's nothing to worry about. But
the other mush isn't even on the bench.
Who?
Anderson isn't even on the bench. He's not even on the bench.
It must be for injury then. It's the only thing that can.
Their bench is Martin Kelly, Nathaniel Klein, Riedewald, Jeffrey Schlupp, Will Hughes, Eze, Ayew, and Edward. Eze, Ayew, and Edward. And 60 minutes, if they were to do like most rugby teams with their props, and then 60 minutes just basically empty the bench with 3 substitutions, a lot of teams will find that difficult to deal with if it's a 0-all. It's they've got serious options up there. Serious options for sure.
No replacement central defender either. You suppose Martin Kelly is probably the nearest thing they have to.
Riedewald will probably go in there as well.
Possibly, or they could put Milijevic back in there if needs be as well. So we can take it that probably Anderson is injured. Maybe something has happened in the meantime. But look, it's they're 2 strong teams. I'm expecting a decent game. It's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely.
I think
Will
the
be. Let's say,
curveball we've been thrown here is actually young, so we
yes.
just
Yeah.
don't know what way it's going to be. What up? My friend who is behind the goal there at the moment just sent me a text to say he envisaged to be Young on the left, helping Matt Target, and Bailey on the right, and
Yeah. And the boys through the middle.
nearly enough for free roll
Yeah.
for our.
Jacob Ramsey through the middle. Yeah, let's take a look at some of the comments. Let's take a look at some of the comments as well. Firstly, Ronan, thank you so much for going to sleep deprived father to another. I'm actually not doing too bad on the sleep front. I'm a 3 or 4 hour sleep night and a night sleep guy anyway prior to child, so I'm not feeling that one too much. But just like you, I'm hoping for momentum going into 2 tough games. And I think you might be too far off with your 1-0 prediction there as well, Ronan. So thanks so much for checking in and for watching the show as well. Let's see there. Ashley Young cutting in from the left like the old days. Absolutely, wouldn't we love it? Wouldn't we love an Ashley Young goal like against Everton the very last minute all those years ago? Absolutely. Bradley says I'm looking very Santa-esque. Yeah, and the beer could be getting an awful lot whiter very, very soon as we come closer to the Christmas time as well. And I am letting it grow for that very, very reason. Pierce says Young did very well when he came on, so I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand. Who asked, is Caleb on the bench? No, that was Carney. Excuse me, Carney Chukwuemeka on the bench. Yeah, somebody who's been in the news recently as well. My own view on that is that potentially it's an overflowed headline, based on the fact that he has 2 years left in his contract, and he never actually fully said, I'm not going signing another contract. It was more, my playing time will dictate if I sign another contract or not. So I think it was the quintessential mountain out of molehill, storm in a teacup situation, because Villa hold all the rights to him for the next 2 seasons anyway, and he is going to, it would be a silly situation to say I don't see any pathway through for young players, considering Cameron Archer, Jacob Ramsey, Philly Jean Bidet, other players like that have all been on the bench and have come on in recent times.
And there he is on the bench as well today. And the silly part of that is he's doing himself out of money, because he would probably get a signing bonus plus extra wages. So he's only fooling himself if he thinks that he's not going to get game time, because if you're good enough, you'll get game time. I can't imagine we're going to be buying any more players in that position. So it's up to him to push on.
And based on what Purslow said today as well, I wouldn't expect a treasure trove to be spent in January. I'd expect 1 or 2 positions maybe to be addressed. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. Of all the things he said in that interview, I think that was the least. That was the one that you need to take with a whole literal truckload of salt. I think if the opportunities arise, that they will spend money. But it was an interesting. We'll come to that in a moment as well. Just take a look at some of the comments. Some other comments. Thomas is not surprised with Young. Stephen Gerrard has a relationship with him. New managers always have that one player they gravitate to. And I think that's a really interesting point as well, Thomas, because, it's the implementation of the system. It's an implement. And like Ashley Young, for his 37 years, he's been with a multitude of different Manchester United managers. Went out to Italy, learned a completely new culture and lifestyle, and a completely new different tactical input, tactical way of looking at things, albeit back in defence. And he's just seen it all, so he can maybe help dissect things a little bit easier for people up there. So it is, and as you say, managers are going to have their generals, and at no time is it more important to have your generals than when you're trying to implement the system and you're only with the club for the bones of 10, 12 days, so I can understand why situations like that do arise, for sure. Absolutely. Mike asks, Young or McGinn in the 3? McGinn could be playing higher up. I don't think so. I don't think, if it was McGinn, Nakamba and Douglas Luiz, absolutely McGinn would be the man up there. But I think he sees Jacob Ramsey as a ball carrier. I think he sees him playing up there. And actually, the more I'm thinking about how this team is going to set up, the more I'm thinking it's going to be a 4-3-3. And I think that they will play McGinn and Ramsey a small bit wider. Ashley Young and Bailey will drop a small bit deeper, and they'll be the ones to carry the ball, I think. And maybe the two midfielders will act as McGinn and Ramsey will act as the buffers for the fullbacks, and we won't see our fullbacks bomb on as much. So they'll almost play as two wide midfielders. Yes, our midfield is going to be wide open, but that's why you probably put two of your most industrious players as those wide midfielders, so they can come condensed when they need to, and they can be expansive when they need to and not run out of energy. Because I think Dean Smith tried to play that when we first came into the Premier League, but he didn't have the energy on the other side. And Conor Horan, much and all as we love Conor, and he actually lamented that at times, that he just didn't have the engine, to be able to do to cover that one side of the field completely. Interesting one for sure. Anything else? Don't knock Ryder over is classic childhood literature. Absolutely. And does anyone ever remember those bars? Those they were like sugary.
They're like a wham bar.
They were like a sour kind of flavor, a sweet and sour flavor. Fucking gorgeous they were. Yeah, if Ryder Rovers bars are out there, and if they want us to plug them, we'd happily take a sponsorship there as well. John Steele says at the start of the season, if you put Villa squad beside the Palace squad, you'd say Villa squad is better. That's still the case. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think that's a fair 100%. Comment.
Yeah, I think the comment that we had about who we have on the bench just cements that. For the first time in I don't know how long, I've looked at the bench and went, yeah, I trust most of those people on that bench to come in and make a difference. You've got to give the likes of El Ghazi another chance under a new manager, and I think the manager will give him every opportunity to prove himself. He did very well when he came on last week. Carney, similarly. The rest of them then, Sanson, we know what we can get from him. I'd just like to see him get more game time and get a bit stronger and better, and a bit less made of glass, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But Joe, it's one of those things that, a player can't help himself being. Well, I retract that, because obviously they can, but you know what I mean. He's gone through shit period. And look, it's not his fault. He's injured an awful lot. He's just getting injured. He probably doesn't want to be injured either. So I always find it different. I always find, obviously the frustration comes out when, oh God, he's injured again. Fuck's sake, we haven't seen him. Like, we really want to see him. But then the other side of things, you're probably going, imagine him. He's at home going, my career is in serious danger here, and it's really not my fault. It's just bad luck. That's essentially what it is. Like if you were a van driver, and if your clutch went on a Monday and you got it fixed, and on a Thursday your brake pads needed changing, and you're out of work then on the Thursday, and then the next day you're driving down, next thing, boom, gasket goes in the engine. Like, that's not your fault. Your career, you're out of work for a while. It's not your fault. You're pissed off. Yet the people who you were trying to deliver to are all looking at it and going, this fella is a waste of space. I'm never going booking him again. Whereas realistically, it's almost an act of God that stuff like that has happened. And I think that sometimes we can be a small bit, and
let's be fair,
and stuff like that.
He's not the only one either. We only, I think this is Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey's only his second start. We've Emi Buendia couldn't get up to full fitness yet either. Danny Ings isn't at full fitness. I think we're going to see the full measure of this squad when we go into pre-season next season, and they get a proper good start to the season. That's if all of them are still around. But I think we have to give the likes of Sanson the benefit of the doubt until he gets a run in the team and see if he's good enough.
What do you think about that, Paddy? Because you were a big proponent of Buendia and the work rate he gave in last week, having seen him in the flesh. Have we lost some work rate in Buendia? I don't think we've lost the same amount of work rate in Ings, considering that Ollie Watkins is like, he's Mr. Work. Yeah. But I do understand where you're coming from.
A lot of people question me afterwards when I mention his work rate, but you can sometimes work too hard to try and get into the game, and that's probably what Buendia was doing. He was so anxious that he wanted to make an impression, that he was so busy getting around the pitch that he probably just ran himself into the ground. He just probably wasn't clever about what he was doing with his time, for me. But I've no doubt in my mind that the work rate is there from him. It's also there from Danny Ings. Danny Ings that I saw against Spurs and against Wolves was phenomenal. We know he's recovering from injury as well. Plus, the manager is going to rotate that and see what's his best option up from the top.
And that's a great point there from Spencer as well. Buendia and Ings are unbelievable options to have from the bench. There's 70 million worth of options to have from the bench there, you know, if we need it. How many times in games last year were we huffing and puffing in 80 minutes, maybe sometimes trying to hold on to a 1-0 win. We just didn't have the options to bring on people to hold the ball up front, cute players to bring on to carry the ball forward. If Jack Grealish was lagging or was failing, and that's why he had to play so many minutes and ultimately succumbed to shin splints and so on. Because, like, remember, Jack Grealish was left on because we literally had no one else that could carry the ball. You know, and not rehashing history there as well. Having the options is so important. You know, having replacement players is so important, and I like that as well from Spencer too. Sorry if I miss out on anyone's comments. Because I can't see them. They've stopped loading. That's why I apologize for that as well. Jason says here, we've spent so much on midfielders that we don't use.
Have we?
Sanson is probably the only one. Like, there's the fact that we spend so much money on midfielders means that we've bought a lot of midfielders, which means that we want options for rotation. That's what I get from. That's what I would get from it, and it's frustrating. I suppose it is frustrating.
Yeah, he's probably talking about Ashley Young, who hasn't featured an awful lot this season.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Look, I was just being flippant saying Sanson, but look, they're the only two we've bought. I think
Sanson and Buendia, I think probably like when you look at it, there's 62 million or there's 52 million on the bench there, which is an awful lot of money. But I think that, you know, I think context would ring true there. That, look, you know, do we need a small bit more creativity up there than Buendia? Like, as I say, he ran around an awful lot the last day, but didn't really get in the ball. And with Sanson, he's just been injured. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Like for the Douglas Luiz point of view, he's coming back from an injury as well. So I think that if this was next week, the Douglas Luiz would be in the team 100 times out of 100. I think that he would be back in there. I just think he's a player that Dean's or that Jesus, old habits die hard. That Steven Gerrard absolutely will love. I think he will love him in Douglas Luiz. Just like he really likes Ramsey as well. But yeah, look at it, and I say it is frustrating when we've got these players injured or on the bench. But you know, if you buy a player for, let's just say we'll talk about Sanson, you buy a player for 14 million, he's injured for a year, you get frustrated and you sell him off for 6. Like, you're only kind of biting off your nose to spite your face in that instance. Whereas if he gets right and you play him for a year and a half and doesn't come back and play well, you'll still sell him for 6. You know, so I suppose that's kind of where the margins come in. That if somebody is injured, you kind of have to find out what he has, because if he even has half a good season, that 14 could become 20, and it could be just making a small profit or making your money back again. So from a business point of view, you know, we have to see what we have in these players at some stage. But then again, as you said, the other side of the coin on that one is, when are they going to be on the field? And that's down to the training staff, I suppose, as well. For sure. Paddy, what do you think the score is going to be, just before we go on to Purslow's comments today?
I am going to go for another clean sheet and a 1-0 win.
I think so too. We always kind of deviate on our suggestions. I was going to say 1-1, but I'm going to go with a 1-0 win. I've nothing to base it on, just in the fact that I'm very enthused and optimistic, specifically after what I want to talk about now. And I listened to Christian Purslow's piece, and yes, I know the comments are going to come in. It was a scripted PR piece, of course it is, but like it's what he said, and it was quite. It's music to my ears, because I've been saying for years that this club, number one, needs to extend Villa Park big time, and he's talking about even that there could be planning considerations going in next month for some, if not all, of the alterations they want to make. That's fucking huge for this football club, absolutely huge for this football club, because keeping us moving in the 21st century means we need to get 42 to. He actually specifically mentioned the number 50,000. getting it up 8,000 seats, that 8,000 odd seats, that's big. That's big from a cash flow point of view. Number one. Number two, the thing that got me really excited, and call me a sucker for it as well, but it's something that we've been talking about. I love the best thing Man City have done is not winning trophies. It's not bringing in Pep Guardiola or knocking Man United off their perch and becoming now probably the most hated team in Manchester from teams outside of Manchester. But what they've done is they've been cute about building a worldwide network of teams. And recently, NSWE have changed their name to, what was it, V Sports?
V Sports.
I think it was called V Sports, with the sole, it was V Sports Group, I think it's what it was, with the sole focus now of that Aston Villa in the Premier League. We're trying to solidify our status within the Premier League, use Aston Villa as a figurehead to move out and create and essentially potentially buy other teams in other continents and use those to scout, use those to, he basically even said it, circumnavigate work permit pieces with regards to Brexit. I don't know if he specifically said Brexit, but it could potentially even as well be, the FIFA rules too. But there's a joined up thinking plan here, and it's a business plan, and it's a sustainability plan, but it's also a plan for not just this year or next year. It's a plan for 10 years. 20 years, you put a number on it, because you can't just make these scouting networks overnight, and that was really
and there's a lot of things to consider. Like the fact that he mentioned, obviously it's the North Stand, spoiler alert, that's what he's going to have to rebuild, but the fact that he mentioned that, and he realized that that's a priority, that we need to get, if we have all these fans that are there, we need to get them in the stadium. We've already heard the name has been registered of the Las Vegas Villains, spelled differently to the way we spell villains, but it's there. So all of these things are happening behind the scenes. You've mentioned Man City. That's probably a similar thing with the New York City FC, Melbourne City. Is it the other one?
Yes, yeah.
Australia. And they have another one,
Girona,
I think, in Gerrards. Yeah. So all of these things are going along just nicely. I like the idea of franchises like the Las Vegas Villains. I think that
Las Vegas Villains is fucking perfect. It's absolutely perfect because it's Sin City. They already have the Raiders, who've got they've got the name of being bad guys, the villains of the group. The Las Vegas Villains, literally, that to me is a genius move. If anybody knows US sports, that is a genius move, because it's just perfect, and it's from a guy who knows US franchising, that went right out to Sin City, where they love the bad guy, they love to be the hated individual, and we'll create a team out there called the Villains. And the way of franchising sports in the States, the Villains is a pretty cool name to have out there. So every time I think about that, I think it's so far, it's so on point with regards to building a brand in the United States, that if you were to forcefully do it, that's a way to just kick the door open in the market and get notoriety straight away and get popularity from that as well. And Las Vegas is huge for following of sports as well. So you just have to see it by the Raiders' new stadium and what they've done since they've gone out there, and also the Las Vegas Knights out there. So sorry, Paddy, I could have crossed you there.
No, but everything he said made complete sense, even down to talking about the traffic problems around Villa Park. I was particularly worried last week because I had to get to the airport by my flight was at 7:25, and if I'd have stood at that train station, I wouldn't have made that flight. Luckily enough, a friend of mine dropped me to the airport. So on the other hand, They've moved the flights till a bit later, so that's made life a little bit easier. But you can't expect people, like Aston and Whitton Station are not the friendliest places to be hanging around in the dark at 6 and 7 o'clock at night. Yeah. When I say friendliest, I don't mean that in a bad way from the locals. I mean, there's nothing around there to do.
Yeah, it's wide open. It's cold. It's exposed.
It's
there's nothing that you can't run down and get a coffee and wait. You're a bit away from places, whatever. So.
Exactly. But yeah, he said so much that resonates with the fans, And if you're going to increase your stadium to 50, 55,000, whatever they decide to go in the long run, there needs to be the infrastructure there to get people in and out, because if there isn't, people will stop coming. And I've heard people this week going, I'm not really interested in going down there now until they sort that out. And that's not the kind of thing they need to be hearing as directors of the company, because that means people start to drop off in season tickets and spending money at the ground and having their drinks, having their hot dogs, buying their shorts, all that kind of thing drops off. So we need to capitalize on the fact that those 15, 20,000 people are waiting on season tickets, get them in there and, have them making noise, but we need to be able to get them out of there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. It's 2:30. Customary that we would break at 2:30 to give everybody time to get in situ before the game. Just beforehand, Paul Thomas, yes, you are right. We always knew that Villa had a feeder club as it was. It is West Bromwich Albion. Always has been, always will be. Sorry we neglected that one. So completely right in that one. But look, guys, game today, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to be the first one to say it. I think there's going to be bitching and moaning if we lose this 2-0 about Ashley Young starting the game. But then again, the same energy needs to be there if we win this 2-0. And it's because of Ashley Young as well. I think
you won't get bitching and moaning from me.
No. But you're going to see people will question Ashley Young. Like, it's a ballsy call. It's a ballsy call to have him in there, because it's people will question this. Why did you do this, Dean Smith? Is he just Dean Smith in disguise? There's always going to be someone who's going to say stuff like that as well. And
the reason he's done this is to see what he has at his disposal, what he can get out of other players who are on the periphery. And we're going to see a lot of that between now and probably January, because I know we're not allowed to call them that, but we have a lot of free hits coming up where we're going to mix and match that team, probably to combat whatever the other teams are throwing at us. So get used to it, guys. The team sheet tantrum is going to throw up a lot of talking points over the next few weeks.
Different bits and pieces. Lads, get in front of your TVs, or if you're at the game, if you're down in London, and get into the stadium quickly, because it's only 28 minutes, and it's I know it's only a nice small quaint stadium, but surely you want to take in the sights and sounds beforehand, so get in there. But thanks everyone so much for listening and for watching. We had 190, I think almost 200 people at one stage. This is phenomenal stuff. Thank you so much for all you guys do for the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you got something from this today. As always, as you will know, that we do have a collab with Beer 52 as well. You will hear it in any of the podcasts that we do normally. We try not to do it in the lives, but beer52.com/love, you will be able to sign up for an offer for 10 beers for $5.95. If that is how you are wired, that would be fantastic if you guys could help us out that way. But anyway, get in front of your TVs. All the best for later on. You never know. I might be back later on if we win by 6-0 or something like that, and I can't contain my excitement. If not, we'll be around tomorrow for a review of the game. Thanks so much to everybody for everything you do. I'm going to leave you off to watch the game, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.